how's it going? Welcome back. And if you're new, welcome too. This is Amy, and we're here. We're gathered today for another Book Talk Tuesday. And it is Tuesday, June 25th. Isn't that special? Yeah. So today I'm finally going to do my May book reviews, even though I still haven't finished that one, but that's okay. I've gotten more progress on that one. So I will do it when I do my June book reviews. So anyway, how's it going? It's a little overcast today, cloudy, had a few little raindrops here. Other than that, it's been hot. It's supposed to be hot. It's still going to be hot. 4th of July is going to be hotter. But let's do our little weather update. And today says it's going to be 99 degrees here in Northern California. And Wednesday's, it's going to start dropping down a few degrees. Wednesday will be 98, and then Thursday will be the coolest for 94. And then it's going to go to mid-high 90s. And then all of July so far, my phone says, is over 100. And we're going to start off with Monday the 1st is going to be 105. And then we're going to 107 for a couple of days, then going to 104 for the 4th of July. And then it's going to fluctuate back and forth for 103s and 104s through the 9th. But we're hoping those 105s and 107s is going to dip down a few degrees and not be that bad. But last July 4th, it was in the 110s, I believe, for like a few days, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, yeah, 99, but it's a little cloudy and overcast. Hopefully that's going to bring that down because it says it's going to be a mild afternoon from 1 o'clock to, let's see, 4 o'clock. It's only going to fluctuate 90 to 96. So I don't know. I'm thinking it's not going to be 99 because on my hourly, it only goes to 97. So let's have high hopes that that's not even 90. Maybe only 94 today. That would be great. 93, Anyway, that is your weather update for Tuesday, June 25th, here in Northern California at the Hacienda of Amy. And I think now we have another fire in another county north of us called the Apache. It's called the Apache Fire. I don't know about the Sites Fire that I talked about last time. I don't have an update for that. There's no update for the Sites Fire. But anyway, there is another fire north of us. This was the Sites Fire was more to the west of us. Now we have another fire. I think they're calling it the Apache Fire north of us. Let's check that out. An hour ago. Yeah, north of us by a town called Orville. What is happening with my thing? Okay. Palermo. 700 acres Tuesday morning. Thought they were doing, and then there's another one, I think, south of us it was Placer County. Anyway, it's fire season, and usually we have these fires either accidental or sometimes, unfortunately, this idiotic people start them on purpose. It's just want to slap them. The Apache fire started around 7:20 on Apache Hill Road. 15% contained. I don't know. My last update is 15% contained. So we'll see about that. So yeah, there's a couple fires west. I haven't heard the Sites Fire. I don't know if that one's out. But then there's north and then there's a south. South is about, I think, an hour. North is, could be 40 minutes. Anyway, okay. That's the weather and fire update. You're welcome. The dogs are barking, and you probably can't hear it, thank God. But they're going to come busting through that door. And right down here, you'll see little eyes and tails. I'm sure of it. Anyway, we are gathered here today for our book reviews, our May book reviews. I got through a few. I'm still working on Susan, Linda, Nina, and Koki by seasons. I can't talk. It feels like Monday and it's Tuesday. Lisa Napoli. It's an ebook. I've made a bit of progress. I'm at 44%. So I think, and I've been reading that at night. So probably by the end of this week, I'm going to say I'm going to be through that. But that's going nicely. That book is about these women who started basically the founding mothers of NPR radio. So it's looking at their lives, and actually it goes before them, like with a little bit each biography of like their parents and what their parents did and how they were and how it incorporated and how these ladies were interested in broadcasting and doing things that really women weren't allowed to do, or what they wanted women to do as far as broadcasting and covering the news and politics and different things like that. And so it's just this biography of these women and how they got to the place they got to at NPR radio and their news broadcasting, and their um, going up the ladder, try to um, that was the ladder was built by men, and some of them were accepting and some of them were, and then of course with the laws and politics and all kinds of things trying to change that, so women were able to be more incorporated into um, telling the news. Anyway, so that's going well. I'm enjoying that one. I might end up seeing if I can get a used copy of that book because that was interesting. So that's that one I'm not quite done with. And the next one, Mother Daughter Murder Night by Nina Simon. I really enjoyed that one. That was a mystery, kind of a suspense. It wasn't heavy on the suspense or thriller like I'm I'm used to reading. Like it wasn't very graphic, or that some of nowadays that we think of thrillers forensics wise and stuff. It had a little bit. It was a mystery. It was a murder mystery, and it was a fun one. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it yeah, I gave it 5 stars actually because I really did enjoy it. It's about these 3 women, a mother, her mother, and then the daughter, teenage daughter. The mother's in her mid-30s, and then the grandma who's in her 60s. What happens is the grandma ends up the grandma and the mother don't have a really good relationship, and um the mother ends up having cancer and having to come stay with them to go through her cancer treatment. And they live in the near Monterey area, Bay Area, Monterey area. Okay. So yeah. So anyway, so there's a murder and they live at this, shoot, I forgot the name of the place. I'll have to put it up here. Um, near Monterey area. It's a real place, actually. But so the teenage girl works for this kayak outfitting company there's like this slaw right behind where they live. And so on this waterway, there's a kayaking outfitter company, and people come and, rent the kayaks and take tours and stuff. And so the teenager, she's 15. She, Jack is her name. She's one of the tour guides. So, and then this murder happens, and she finds this body in the waterway, and then there's a whole investigation, and so, and then there's also in this story is an environmental trying to save the land for the wildlife conservation type thing going on. And then there's like parts of the land is owned by ranchers and different farmers and different things. And so they're usually at odds. But this one property, this man so the mother of Jack, she works at a nursing home. And one of her patients passes away, and he actually owns some property across the lake, at the edge. I think it's at the edge of where this guy on the lake, or the waterway, it's not a lake, where this person was found dead. And this person ended up being somebody that was working for the conservation place. I can't think of the name of it. And that they came across that the rancher that died, he was an older gentleman, but not so old that they thought he was going to pass away. He just, died. And it was kind of, the mom was kind of like, oh, she didn't think he was that bad. But anyway, he was kind of talking to this guy about wanting to save some of his property for this conservation outfitter thing. And so it just goes from there. And then the rancher guy had two kids, adults, a son and a daughter. And so they both looked suspicious. And then I had my eye on, them. And then I'm not going to tell you any spoilers or anything like that. But the way it ended was, at first I was like, okay, I think I figured it out. And then I kind of let up on it. And then the way it ended was kind of like, okay, I thought I figured it out, but then I let it go. But then it came back around. And anyway, um, on the whodunit. But it was good. I really enjoyed it. It kept being a page turner for me, because I was just interested in the relationships of these three women, and at the same time, this mystery of who killed this person and what it was all about. And the grandma is the one that initiated trying to help figure out who did this, because the police at the beginning, they were suspecting the teenager Jack at the thing, but she's like, I didn't do it. um and then the grandma's like, well, I'm going to help prove your innocence, and then we'll, all this stuff. And so the grandma starts doing her little investigation. And she's from like the big city, LA, where she's like a commercial real estate person, I think. I don't know if it's commercial real estate, but it's a real estate. She's used to making a lot of money and people just being kind of like at her beck and call. So she has a little, not used to this lifestyle, that she's having to stay with her daughter, who's like, they're not rich, but they're not exceedingly poor. They just, have to watch their money, and she has to work. And the teenager, she works and makes some money too. So their financial situation is not what the grandma is used to. So, and their lifestyle, but they're comfortable and they enjoy their lifestyle. And then the grandma and the daughter ended up kind of coming to, um, a peaceful reconciliation. And anyway, it's fun. You throw in the mix of family drama. It's not too drama-y. It's not like Housewives or Kardashians or anything close to that. It's just more of a kind of a mild family drama, that the mom and the daughter hasn't got along in a while, and the daughter moved away from the mother. She had gotten pregnant with her daughter and moved away to this place. But it was a really fun mystery. It wasn't too. It's not necessarily a cozy mystery. I think of it as a cozy mystery. It's just a nice, mild mystery. It's not too graphic, and it's not too heavy. It's something, if you want to dabble in, if you haven't done thrillers or some kind of mystery like this, you want to just dip your feet in, so to speak. I think this would be a good one to start with, because it's not it's not a baby mystery, but it's not totally great. We're not going towards the Karen Slaughter graphic, heavy thriller mystery type thing. Um, or Stephen King. But yeah, I enjoyed that mother daughter murder night. That was a good one. I'm glad I had got that one on loan from my library. And it was published this year, or no, last year, 2023. And yeah, that was a good one. I gave it 5 stars. I said, yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I don't give 5 stars out very often, but that one, it was just, it was really, really enjoyable that I would actually read it again. And I want to actually buy this book. I actually want to buy this book too. So I know when I want to buy the book, that means I really, really liked it. Okay. So the next one is Mother's Day Murder. That one was an audio. This is a cozy mystery. Now this is a cozy mystery. This isn't really heavy, um, graphic or anything like that. Even though I think the language is very minimal as far as any foul language. There's not a lot. It's by Tonia Kappas. And if you go on YouTube, there's a few of her books, audiobooks on, I think they're working on my window outside. Sick, I think my window's falling apart. No, they are working on the window. So ignore. But anyway, Tony Kappas. Yeah, she has cozy mystery. The first one I read of hers last year was, mhm. we may have to, we're going to have to pause this because this is going to be noisy. I'll get back to you in just a second. Okay, we're drilling some things now out there, so hopefully you can't really hear that, which would be great. Um, because I can. Anyway, Tony Kappas, Mother's Day Murder. Like I said, a cozy mystery. It's fun. The first one I read was a holiday. It was Holiday Homicide. It was a Halloween one. I'll put it up on the screen. Um, it was cute. I really enjoyed it. I listened to the audio on YouTube for that one, and this one I got off of Libby, and I think they had it on YouTube also. Uh, but I enjoyed the story. It was about this woman who, and there's a series of them. So I don't know which one this is in this, excuse me, in the series, but there's a series of them, and it's the same town and the same. I think the main character, um, for the life of me, I can't remember her name either, but we'll put that up. Um, Moves to this small town to work at this newspaper, and she's there, and her mom ends up coming to town. So one day she is talking to her, and she's telling her mom that she can't be there for Mother's Day this year. Though, she'll work it out later. She has to work. Anyway, so the stuff, and so the mom's talking to her on the phone, and then the lady I think she's at the office where she works. I can't remember. But anyway, she's on the phone. She sets the phone down, and then there's a knock at the door. She goes to the door, and her mother's standing right there. And her mother's come to see her. She tells her that she's divorcing her father, and she's going to come live with her. So that's how it kind of starts off. So anyway, so in the midst of all that, there's this murder happens on this property, and her being a reporter wants to do a little investigation to try to figure out what happened. So it's just a little small town cozy. Her mom comes to town. Her mom's a hoot. I just love the character of her mom. But yeah, that one I gave 4 stars. I enjoyed it. It was a cozy. Um maybe I don't usually give out half stars, so that's why I have to choose 4 or 5. So I did a 4. Um as I probably enjoyed the other one, the Mother's Day Murder Night, a lot more than this one. So that's the reason this one got a 4 and the other one got a 5. But I definitely buy this book and I'd recommend it if you're into like little cozy mysteries. And it has, these are like holiday themes. So this is Mother's Day. The one, oh, it was Halloween Homicide. I think that was the name of it. Halloween. Halloween or I don't remember. But there's one for 4th of July. There's one for Thanksgiving, Christmas. I noticed uh, Tony Kappas has, I think that one's a recent one, the Christmas one. And there's New Year's, there's a Easter bunny one, Easter, and there's like 6 or 7 of them already. But anyway, I want to read them all. Oh, and then there's like a St. Patrick's Day one too. But anyway, yeah, I want to read them all. I really enjoy them. They're fun. It's a nice, easy, relaxing read. It's not creepy or overly foul or graphic. It's just a really good, nice, cozy mystery, and I enjoy it. Um, and then The Founding Mothers by Cokie Roberts. Okay, this is the one I talking about, Cokie Roberts. This one I gave 5 stars because it's a nonfiction. And I have the book, but I got the audio this time off of Libby to listen to because I've read the book before. I did some research in college writing paper about women in the American Revolution. And so I'd read her book already. And so I wanted to listen to the audio because audio is narrated by her. And so I really enjoyed that, hearing her voice and her reading her story. Audio is only about 7 hours. So, like I said, a nonfiction history, the mothers, women, wives in the American Revolution era, and just after. So it's just a good little history book about the different women that had different roles and their take on uh, what they had to do to take care of their home and their family and either their husbands, fathers, brothers, uh, that type of thing, and their ideas of, like Abigail Adams is a famous one as far as telling her thoughts and ideas to her husband, what she wanted him to do. But what he did, what he was going to do was what he was going to do. But anyway, that's another one. But that was good. Yeah, I gave that a 5. I really enjoyed that book. I like the writing. I like the information about these women in history, and that's always a fun one for me. So I do own that book. And then the last one I have is The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. This one I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it, and then as I got the audio from Libby again, and it was 9 hours. And the narrator, she was Australian, I think. And I didn't realize this was, well, it was an Australian story because some of the things that they talked about, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked, was had Australian references and language and things like that. So, um, I'm getting um, I don't know what you call it, like a bamboo shade thing that comes down outside my window because my window faces the west. So when the sun goes down, the it's heats up. Even though I just made these curtains, it's given me off 70 Hawaiian 70 vibes. My childhood. So that's why I picked those out. Um, but it still is getting hot, and I have vertical blinds behind that. And so we decided to put this bamboo shade thing that comes down in front of my window because, I mean, even with the air conditioner I have in here and the fan, it gets hot. We don't have central heat and air here in our house. It's an older house, and we had it when we moved in a long time ago, and it broke, and we just never had the money to get a new one because the heat and air venting system ran underneath the house for one. Um, Anyway, that's a side note. We're not here for that. But yeah, I'm getting some blinds. Um, but The Mother-in-Law, again, Australian story. It's a thriller mystery. It wasn't like a big murder mystery thriller that, what I say is to me, a normal, there's this murder and this is like this very heavy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is very distracting. What is not every time I do the video, huh? What is not? But this is so the mother-in-law ends up dying, and it said that she has committed suicide, and she had told people that she has cancer, and then come to find out when the police come and talk to the family, uh, the daughter-in-law and her husband, this lady, so the lady has a son and a daughter, and it goes and it so this book, it story, it flips back from the past to the present, past, and each the it's mainly about the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law, and it talks about the mother-in-law's past and also in her present, and it's like her reasoning of why she how she is that she is in the present. So it goes back through these events in her life, and it also does that with the daughter-in-law. It goes back to her past and talks about certain events, and then so you get a gist of why they are the way they are now and how they interact with each other, and why the mother-in-law just seems so like cold and bitchy at times. But then when you hear about some things that happened in her past, you're like, well, okay, does that excuse her for how she acts? Probably not. But anyway, so the police come and they end up telling the family that she didn't have cancer, and they have no record of her going to a doctor or getting tests or anything. There's no, autopsy. She didn't have cancer. And yeah, so they're like, why would she say that? Well, that's why she was going to kill hers, because she was going to kill herself because she had cancer. And so um they didn't know that. She supposedly left a note, but the note was in a drawer. So normally if you're going to people that commit suicide and they write a note, they're not going to like hide it away usually. But anyway, so there's some things that were not adding up. And so it goes through, most of the story is she's alive, and how this lady is and how she interacts with her family and her daughter-in-law mainly, and uh in her past on how what's things some things she's went through. And yeah, so it was very interesting. So at first I wasn't sure if I was gonna go with the flow, because it wasn't really clicking for me. And then I kept reading and I kept, and then as things picked up and there was more explanation of about these characters, and then you got to the part where like, well, maybe she didn't commit suicide. Maybe this is actually a homicide. And so, yeah, it started getting more towards the end of it, like, okay, well, who did it then? If it is a homicide, who would have did this to her? So, yeah, it was really interesting. I think I gave that, I didn't write it down. Trying to think. I think I ended up giving that 4 stars. I'm gonna write that down. My sister got me that little poof, foo foo pen. It's kind of like a styrofoam thingy in there, but it's like foo foo. It's a fun pin. Yeah, so I'm gonna give that 4 stars because I did enjoy it. That would be something I would recommend, and I would maybe read it again. The next time I would probably actually read the book, because I listened to the audio this time. Even though I did enjoy the narrator because of her accent, it just made the story like, I can't do an Australian accent very very good. So so reading it aloud with Australian accent for me would be no. But anyway, so yeah, so those are the books that I read in May, and I really they all had at least a 4 star, 5 star. Not finished with the Susan Linda Nina Koki, but that one's going well. I'm sure that's gonna be I'm gonna guess that's like a 5 star for me. The Women of NPR. I'm just really enjoying it, and I'm almost halfway there. I'm at 44% through the book. So, and it's due back in 12 days. So I'm pretty sure I'll finish that one. So yeah, so I had a really good reading month for me. I finished 1, 2, 3. I finished 4. I almost have the fifth one done. But yeah, it was May was a good month. I really enjoyed the reading I had, and I intermixed that with a nonfiction, so that was good because that's something I've been wanting to do is get more of my nonfiction history reads in too, because that's something I really enjoy. Um, so yeah, so that was the wrap for the May book reviews. And if you have anything that you read in May that I may enjoy, you go ahead, comment, let me know. Um, or if you have read these, like them, didn't like them, um, any recommendations for some others, all welcome. Um, yeah. So my June reading update, it's going fairly well. Like I said, I'm still reading the Susan one. We're just nicknaming that the Susan one. We know what we're talking about. I'm still reading All the Missing Girls. I haven't read a lot on that one just because I've been, reading these others to get through. But The Missing Girls by Megan Miranda, I have that book, so I'm physically reading it, which is published in 2016. And yeah. So let's see here. That's a mystery thriller suspense. Um, It's about this girl, her father's ill, and she has to go back home to deal with the he's, I think, in a rest home, and her and her brother have to deal with, like, I don't know, selling the house or dealing with all the financial stuff now. And then when she left, I guess some girls or a girl went missing. And so she's come back to town, and supposedly I haven't got very far in it, but supposedly some other girls are going to go missing or have been missing. So that's interesting to me to see how that goes once I can get back to it. Another one I'm reading is The Angel of Indian Lake, the third in the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. I've really, really enjoyed the other two books. I'm enjoying this one. I'm at 19%. The loan's due back in 9 days, but I'm pretty sure that's the ebook I have. So I read it. I alternate between reading that one at night and the Founding Mothers of NPR one at night a little bit. So those ones I mainly read at night. And like I said, I'm at 19%. The Indian Lake trilogy, like I said, I've really enjoyed it. This is the last one. I'm going to be sad when it's done because I really liked him. And the character of Jade is the main character. She's back in town again. So the first one, well, I shouldn't give any spoilers, but anyway, we'll just say in this one, she's back in town and she's now teaching at her old high school, and her old class that was basically her favorite teacher um, taught history. And so she's now teaching that class. And so that's at the part that now where I'm at is some things are starting to happen in town. There's some kids that went missing, and people think they just ran away, but then there was some kid did a report in the class. She's having people do reports in her class, and some kid did a drone report video, and it showed these two kids that looked like they were murdered up in the mountains. And this is the town is Proof Rock, Idaho. I don't know if that's a real town, but it's set in Idaho. And so he had this footage that shows these kids that were murdered. And this is a horror, by the way, and it's graphic. It's not a dip your toes in. It's a horror, and it's not. You don't just dip your toes in this one. You go all the way in the water. Um, and so she had just watched this drone footage that this kid presented in class, and then the sheriff shows up, and he's like, "Oh, so he's talking about they found this other car from the last story. The old sheriff went missing; their car went off the road, and they never were able to find them. So they said they found this vehicle now, and that's what he was coming to tell Jade. and she's thinking he's coming to tell her they found these kids that are missing, and he's like, doesn't know what she's talking about. There's no kids missing. They just ran off. And she's like, well, I just seen the footage. And he's like, I don't, there was nobody else there. So these kids weren't, they were supposedly murdered, but now their bodies aren't there. So anyway, so, yeah, that's where I'm at. And then I'm listening to It by Stephen King. I have the book. This one, I thought I would really enjoy the, I'm at 31% on It. And it's due in 5 days. The audio. I have the book, physical book. The audio is 45 hours. It's long. I mean, the book is a chunker, so the audio is long. I thought I would enjoy the audio. I usually enjoy the audio for Stephen King. The last few I've read, I've listened to the audio and I've enjoyed it. But for some reason, this one, it's just the narrator, the way he does the voices for the other characters. Some of the characters in the story, they're like, we're at the part where, like, part of the book. So the first part of the book opens up with these got adults that used to be kids that lived in Derry, Maine, in this monster they fought. So they've grown up and moved away. So it starts out that these people are getting called back to come back to this town because this it is back, or some kids are missing again. And so they're having to go back because they promised if it ever happened that they would come back. Happened again, they would come back. So this one of the kids calls they're adults now. Starts calling these other people to come back to town, help take care of this finally, for once and once and for all. So anyway, so that's how it starts out, but then it goes back into when they were kids, and it goes through each part of the characters, a little bit of their childhood, and then it goes back into going back into the part of the book where it's just the kids back in the day. And then if you've watched the movies, you'll know what I'm talking about, because it starts out, the first movie is about the kids part when they were kids, and then in the second movie it was when they were grown up and coming back to town and dealing with this again. So it follows the book like that, but there's, obviously the more in the book. And so anyway, the narrator, I thought I would enjoy it, but there's just parts in there where it was just, I don't know, maybe it was me that day and I was just in a mood, but there was parts where it was very loud and like screaming, crying, whiny. It was just like, it just seemed like it was extra loud. And as I get older, I'm more sensitive to loud noises and things. So this is not going well when those parts. The narrator was really getting into it and doing, reading it, but I just did not enjoy the loud, screamy, crying, whiny, yelling that was going on. I'm just like, so I'm thinking that I'm just probably gonna not try to renew this audio because it's due in 5 days. I'm just gonna go with the flow, and then I'm gonna continue reading wherever I'm at. Continue reading the rest of the book on my own without the narration, without the audio, because for some reason this audio has been really irritating me and annoying me because it just it's. I know you can turn the sound down, but that's not. It's just the characters, how they're being read is it's very yelly. I don't like yelling. I don't, even though they say I yell a lot, but not really. I get loud because when me and my sister get together, we get loud. We get really excited. We get loud. But just hearing yelling and stuff like that, I don't like it. I'm very sensitive to that. So I'm probably not going to be able to finish the whole book on the audio, and I will just read the rest of the book peacefully, quietly, in a cozy atmosphere with a monster clown. Okay. So anyway, so that's how that's going. It's going, but I'm not really enjoying the audio, but I'm continuing to listen to it until it's due. But that's one is probably one of the audios is not my favorite. And that was published in 1986. And it's a horror thriller. if you've seen the movies, it's a good one. The story's good. I enjoy it. I enjoy hearing about the backstory of these kids and where they're at and different things about that. So, and then one also I'm currently reading is D-Day, The Battle for Normandy. That's a history nonfiction history. I got that to commemorate D-Day, and that's by Anthony Beevor, Beevor. But I started reading that a little bit. I'm not very far. I'm like 3%. But that's interesting. It's talking about, before the beginning is before they actually go to Normandy and getting just the different people involved and getting that together and their attitudes of how they think they're going to do it and how it's going to work. So, that's always history is always interesting for me. Different things, especially if I haven't specifically read about certain things before. Like I haven't read specifically about the storming of Normandy, so that's what I like. And then two I have finished for June already are The Bedford Boys by Alex Kershaw. That was published 2003, and that one I had the audio, and it was 8 hours. And this is basically about a group of men from a small town in Virginia who I think it was 20, 21 men, all from this town that died on D-Day within minutes or hours, basically, of landing on the beach. And so it goes and it tells the story of the backstory a little bit of each a handful of these guys from the town, how they were, their families, their friends, and then it has them going through training and then getting sent off to England and waiting for their tour. And some of them in their training that they were training to land on Normandy, some of them got injured during their training and, couldn't go onto their destination. And then the guys that lost their lives and the people, the the captain and different people that were in charge and driving those little, I forget what they're called, LVP, or those little boats that you see on the well, it's on the cover, that they're all in and driving up to the beach to let them off. Um, yeah, that was very interesting. It was very sad. It was very sad because, as these men died and notifications were sent home to this town. And so it also talks about, the people and the family and the friends and people involved, people that worked at where they had to send somebody with a telegram to the parents or the wives or where to the work or to the home, wherever they were, to notify them that their husband or their son was killed in action. I mean, it was just like there was this one point in the story that one day that this telegraph office was just so busy they had to find people to, and I think maybe the pharmacist or somebody, help deliver these notifications, which is just horrific to find out, somebody is telling you your son or your husband is killed in action or missing. Some of them, they ended up being missing, or which presumed dead. Um, but yeah, just this one day that they got all these telegrams and they were just sending people out one after the other. It was like a day of like a dozen or more people that were notified that their person was missing. And the people back home knew something was up, something was going to happen, because either they had wrote home and said that, I won't be able to talk to you for a little while, or I may not see you again. I may not see you and our child again. Some of them were fathers. Um, and and then on the radio, when they were getting their updates, the news about this happening, and uh the radio broadcast of what was going on and talking about Normandy and blah blah blah. So they figured out, what, this my husband or my brother or my son they're probably in this action because they said there was something that they weren't going to be able to talk for a while or ever. Um, and that they just assumed that such and such was at the storming of Normandy Beach. And yeah, it was just really sad. I think that was a really sad low moment that in the story when all these people, when all these these notifications started coming in, and the person working there was starting to have to deliver them out, and she's like, I don't have enough people to take these out. And the way some of these the recount of how they were notified. One lady was at work, and she worked in some factory, and then other people were at home, and it was just. And then one lady was notified by someone on the street. It wasn't, I don't even know if it was her friend. It was just someone that knew her or knew of, and said, hey, have you heard from blah, blah, blah? And no. And she goes, oh, well, he was killed. I mean, it was just like a random thing that somebody told her on the street. And it was like, that's, that's not very terrible. Um, but yeah, the Bedford Boys, that was a good one. That was a good, memoir type thing as far as them, their the some of the fellas from the town, their little like mini biography, and them going through training, going through this, and then from the view of other people who survived that came back, and then in the end too, like some of the guys that came back, and how they had to deal with it, and how they dealt with it for the rest of their lives, and just how it ate at them, some of them for forever, and they just couldn't deal with you know, what they'd went through basically. But anyway, that was a good one. That was I think I gave that one a 4 star, but probably because I don't know why. Anyway, that got a 4 star. But D-Day Girls, that was my big anticipation for June. That one I gave a 4 star to also. That was the audio. It was 10 hours. It was by Sarah Rose, D-Day Girls. And that was like a memoir. It was a nonfiction memoir, but it was kind of written in like a story type form, which was interesting and kept you, interested if you like that. It's more of a storytelling than a just strict non-history biography type thing. Some of it seemed a little slow, so I think that's why I gave it 4 stars. But the narrator was also the author, which is good. So I I would listen. I want to get the book, okay? But the audio, I'm glad I listened to it because there's some words in there because she pronounced the French words and the German words and phrases that were written in the book. She pronounced them very well. And I don't think reading that for me, I would have been like, I don't know what this, I mean, it might say, she said this such and such, and then it meant this, but, just to pronounce, especially the German words, I've never been able to decipher usually that. So some very basic stuff that you just hear often. Um, but yeah, just for her reading those words out loud in other languages was very helpful. And I did really like the audio for that because I think I would have struggled to get through the book because there is, what's happening in France and the Germans. And so there's German, phrases being said and French phrases being said. And it's these women who went through training to be saboteurs in France in World War II against the Germans so that it would help out in the Allied troops landing at Normandy. So it was all a buildup to get to this Normandy landing so the Allied troops could come to France to help fight and defeat the Nazis. And so they had to put all these people in place to kind of, I mean, they had to go through, to, I mean, blow up train tracks um, to try to find out codes that the Germans, of course, the Germans would find out because they were giving codes back to these people that were working for the Allies, giving codes coding back to sending messages back in code, and the Germans would find that out. And so it was just really a miracle that D-Day and the invasion actually really happened. Just listening to this and what they went through, and these, I think it's three main women they talk about, but there's also associates, like male associates and other female associates. And I just, there was a part, it was near the end of the book, and to find out the fate of these specific women was just, it was heart-wrenching. It was sad because they all didn't make it. It was really sad. And get choked up. I mean, it was there's a point that one of them had if it was true, and that's what they said, a witness or whatever. But I mean, the the one of the ladies died, and she didn't have a good death. It sounded like, and of course, I think that I can't remember all three. It was mainly about three women, but I think all three. I know two of them got captured. They were captured and put in prison in a camp in a prison. I can't think of the name of the prison. It wasn't like the camps where we think of um, Auschwitz and things like that. It wasn't those camps. It was a different prison, actual prison for traitors and these type of people. They would keep in prison they would torture them for information, basically. And gosh, one lady, it was an associate. She was an older lady too. An older lady. I think she was an older lady because she was in her 40s back then. That was an older lady, and it was too old to do this training, like these women that they wanted younger women. And they wanted women that didn't have families or weren't married. But one had some children, but anyway, she wanted to do it anyway. But one of these women, she was getting chased, but they were in a car and they were getting chased by the Germans, and she got shot like in the head. And you're like, oh, she died. And then story comes back around and talks about her. She had an indent of the bullet in her head. Like, she didn't die. Like, it was like went through her skin and her skull, but it didn't get her brain. And so she had this injury, and I think she was in a hospital for quite a while, but she was in a hospital. It was like a prison hospital. So they took care of her, and they tried to keep her from being questioned from the Nazi as long as they could, these hospital doctors, nurses. But eventually they had to they took her from the hospital and put her in a prison. But yeah, she survived this, horrible thing. I mean, she still had you could still see she would have had a hole in her head. Like, wow. Anyway, so there's women, like I said, it was inspirational. It was also very sad because they did not all make it. But, unfortunately, but fortunately for the Allies, that their commitment, and especially to women who, these specific women they talked about that were caught, did not give up any information, no matter how badly they were tortured, which is amazing. And one of them that survived the war, and she lived to be, I don't know how old she lived to be, but I think they said when she was 90 years old, she got this award from, it's being the highest civilian award that they hadn't given to a woman before. And yeah, it was amazing. These women were amazing. I definitely want to buy the book, and I would read it. I would actually read the print again. Since I've listened to the audio, I did enjoy the audio. This was like, yeah, I gave it a 4, but it was almost a 5. I mean, aside from some of the stuff felt too, the story felt too. I had to make myself remember, like, this isn't just like a novel, like a fiction. It's actually nonfiction, because some of the time I was thinking, oh, is this maybe taking liberties in writing, or how do we know exactly all this information? Because it is written kind of like a story, like you would do a fiction story, but it has all of the information they've taken from all these different places and interviews and just, paper trails and things to like make a map of how these people, where they worked, where they went, what they did. Um, you know, it was good. It was good. D-Day Girls, Sarah Rose. So yeah, I finished those two, the Bedford Boys and the D-Day Girls. Those were excellent. I recommend if you want to read about people who were, well, the women who were behind the lines, trying to sabotage the Nazis, so the Allied troops can land and win the war. And then the Bedford Boys was these men who landed on D-Day and lost their lives, from this group of men from one town. Anyway, so that's how my June reading is going. That's the June update. This is a long video. And I think that's it for our Book Talk Tuesday. The only thing I want to say is that I think Thursday, tomorrow, I have some errands to run to town, and I want to stop at Goodwill. So we may have a small, could be small, we could not have one, a book haul. I want, because I haven't been to Goodwill and to look at books, and it's been a few months maybe. But I did order a book off eBay. That's coming. I should get that today. It's actually a Christmas. It's one book I want for my Christmas readathon I want to do. And so I should be getting that one. So if I go to Goodwill, I might find a couple of books. I might have a book haul on Thursday. But yeah, so that's it for Book Talk Tuesday. Thanks for stopping by. And if you cross your fingers and have high hopes, we'll be back here on Thursday. And thanks for watching.